Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night. That means it's another What's the Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony.
What is going on, people?
And we have Angel from That Strange Show.
Hey.
What's going on, Angel? And Tony, would you like to introduce our very special guests? I don't know where you're going to start, but yeah.
Sure. I checked out the Mortuary Collection, right now streaming on SHUDDER, soon to be released on physical media. And like I said, Mortuary Collection, we have a few guys behind the new anthology. I don't know what you're starting, Kevin. You're the
director.
The camera. All right. So we have director Ryan Spindell.
What's up, Ryan? What's up? Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on.
Tony.
I guess we'll go to the producer, Justin Ross.
Hello,
how's it going? And one of the actors in the movie, Barak Hardley.
Hi.
How's it going?
So Mortuary Collection, it's been in my queue for a while. It's been something that I've been wanting to watch, and then I finally sat down and watched it after Tony's like, "Hey, we're gonna have these guys on," and it's one of the things that I can say about Shudder Originals is their batting average is very high. So there's very few that I don't absolutely love. But this is another one that's going to go on my list of ones that I thought were great. So congrats on that, guys. I'm always curious too, like how does it become a Shudder original? Did they approach you, or is it stuff that you had in the works that they just like, hey, throw this together and just do this. Here you go. Here's some money.
Once a month, they do a Russian roulette in an undisclosed cabin, and the survivor gets to make a Shudder original.
Nice.
It's intense, but worth it,
Yeah, yeah. But so like you said, we were talking a little bit beforehand about like some of the features that are coming on the disc, and you said that there was some behind the footage stuff that's been filmed for like years. So obviously, this is a project that's been going on for a while. Is it something where it was kind of done and then they attached themselves, or you had them attached to it, or how does that work?
I think the whole thing was born out of a love for behind the scenes. I think one of the founding components for wanting to be a filmmaker in the first place was the behind the scenes on the Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings DVDs, and it was just so. I think unlike there's a lot of behind the scenes, and sometimes it's fluff and sometimes it's cool. But I remember Peter Jackson really putting this massive effort into showing how movies were made, like sort of the nuts and bolts of the process, and so. Way back when we first started making this movie was made it's an anthology movie, but it was made in pieces, and we made the first short independent of the rest, and we knew it was going to be this long epic process because we were shooting for something that was going to have be just crazy ambitious and full of set pieces and practical effects and really tricky things to pull off, but we didn't have any money. We didn't have much time, so we were like, well, this is going to be full of drama. Let's just shoot everything behind the scenes. And worst case scenario, even if the movie falls apart, we can still show people how the process was made. And so that's sort of how it began. And our good buddy, the behind the scenes director, Nathan Beaver, was there from the very start shooting footage. And that ended up being a several year process because, we made the first short, we took a break, we came back, we shot some more pieces. And in the end, he had 20 something hours of footage, and he sort of spent all of this time cutting it down. But like our directive was, let's not just do fluff stuff. Let's show young filmmakers how we pulled off everything we pulled off so they can turn around and put all of their money on the line and do it themselves. And so what we ended up with is, I think it's 2 hours, which was as much as we could fit on the Blu-ray special featurettes, each sort of focusing on a different part of the craft. And we really get into the nuts and bolts of how we pulled off tentacle monsters and animated books and puppets and fog effects and all of this stuff that just sort of gets our filmmaking hearts beating a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So it's something we're really proud of. We're almost as proud of the behind the scenes as we are of the film itself.
Yeah, and it's going to be. I mean, that's a selling point. I mean, I have Shudder. I paid for Shudder forever, so I can always just watch it. But when that is a big selling point right there. With the special features is something that's going to make me want to go out and buy it. And the Lord of the Rings stuff, I bought the special edition and I watched every second of the special edition. So it was. I get you. I feel it.
I still revisit them like on a regular basis. I just love. I love that. I heard. Rumors hinted in the wind that Peter Jackson was actually shooting a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff when he did Brain Dead, Dead Alive, and even Meet the Feebles. And supposedly he's going to at some point release a Blu Ray that's going to have all that stuff.
Yeah, there's we had a guy on well over a year ago that works for a he's a owner of like some big distribution, and he said that they're working on the Peter Jackson releases, and I'm like, you just need to tell me everything you can as soon as you know. And that's actually one thing I was going to mention too. So first off, I'm pretty impressed that this took that long to make, because it doesn't feel like these were made at different times at all. Like this feels like, and first, another thing. So we were talking about our favorite segments. You kind of really can't pick it. They're all, it's a solid movie altogether. Yeah. But, there are some parts that I'm wondering if they're homage to some other horror movies, including Dead Alive. So yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yes, I mean,
okay.
I think like one of the best parts about making a movie like this, which is multiple stories all living within different subgenres, is that I got to play with all of my favorite horror tropes and sort of. Reference all of my favorite directors, and it's sort of like I've called it in the past the kitchen sink movie, because it's sort of like first time director, you just put everything in it because you're like, I don't know if I'll get to make another one, so might as well do it all now. And so there's 100%. I don't know if there's anything I've ever made that hasn't had Dead Alive references in it, or even Dead references.
Okay.
We don't go for as on the nose ones as I think some people do, but it's definitely buried in there. Even in the very opening sequence, there's at least 3 really obscure Brain Dead references, even in the opening sequence of the little boy riding his bike up to the house.
Really? I gotta watch that part again, because it was the segment with Barak. It was your segment that definitely, unless I'm wrong, but that was the Dead Alive reference there. And the only thing I was hoping, just because I always, whenever anyone ever brings up that movie, I always just say the quote, "an abundance of mother love," and I want to hear that in a movie at some point.
Hold on, my pen. Let me write this down.
Yeah. It's an abundance of mother love. But that was. I would say that was probably my favorite segment. Just because it was funny, and it was just that's right when the gore really starts. Like there's gore in like the one where the STD one as well, but that one is just like, wow, that like the whole floating in the elevator thing. I thought it was done really well. Very, and it looks like, again, I'm gonna shut up in a second and let these guys talk, but because I'm just like whatever, but yeah, I'm just excited because I just got done watching it again, so that's why I can't kind of like ooh, but I just can't say enough. I mean, it just looks really polished, and it's shocking to me that it was filmed over so much time, because it really does feel like it was like just a thing, it was all done at once. So that's good job.
It's this whole thing that people don't realize, like when you talk about Shudder and all that, like nobody, the fact is nobody was helping make this except for Ryan and Justin and the producers, and they got a small group of people and another group of people, and they paid for it themselves, right? And then this has been going on to brag about these guys, like they made this on their own for 7 years, and at the very end people come on and go like, oh, this is our movie. A whatever original. No, this is like a Ryan Spindell original, like made with love. Every inch of this movie is a labor of love by hundreds of different people who like poured their hearts into something. It's an amazing thing, and I'm stoked you guys like it. I'm stoked to be a part of it, just knowing like I respect the hell out of what these guys did.
We didn't pay him to say this, I promise.
Yeah. And you're in it a couple times, right? So you're a cop in the last story.
I'm in it like 7 years apart, right?
Wow. That made me like audibly laugh too. You're just like looking at the thing, and then what do you say? Like, at the end or whatever, like whatever you say.
Yeah, Ryan was like, "Can you be in my movie?" And you're like, "Yeah." And you work all night, and it comes out, and you say one word in it. Like, you son of a bitch. But now I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, the woman who played your wife didn't really say much in the movie, so
I know. Sarah, and she's an incredible actress too. An incredible actress with like who's done a ton of awesome movies too. So I think it was like I cast her because she's amazing, and then the whole time it's like she's just like, oh, I'm not saying anything at all ever, and I'm like. No, but I think what's tricky about that is that's almost a harder job. And I think somehow actors have been trained to feel that like the more dialogue you have, the better the role. And I guess to some degree that is true in some projects. But I'm sort of the mindset that if you're on camera a lot and you don't have a lot of lines, that's an even tougher job because now you have to do all the acting to convey every single component. And that's the kind of thing that Barak actually, a lot of he doesn't have many lines in the whole movie except for a couple scenes. And Christine, of course, in the bathroom segment has one line. That's basically a silent film with just a girl in a bathroom. So there's a lot of like lonely people without lines in this movie. And I know it always irksome. I think Barak, you said that too. I think you were like, I gave you the script at first. And you're like, I don't have any lines. What is this? It has no lines.
It was still. He doesn't have any lines, but it was still like probably my favorite segment in the movie. I mean, that being said, like, I like every segment, including the wraparound story. I think the wraparound story is sick, and like I think all of these could easily be their own standalone movie too. So,
but you look at you're talking, actors and stuff want, of course, some people are idolized by that, but you look at Terrifier, where now it's blown up and. Terrifier never taught the clown never speaks one word, but now it's like, it's now you have to act and the mannerisms, whatever, make the movie and make it what it is. So even in that segment, the wife is like, I don't want to give way too much, but the eating segment and then in the elevator and stuff, it's I thought it was really cool.
Epic.
Yeah.
It was epic.
So.
But don't you guys like it?
Yeah. I think it's definitely anthologies. I guess now are coming back a little bit, but for a while you didn't really see much besides Creep Show, and then the ABC's of Death came, and then Trick or Treat and stuff. But I think this is going to be in with that, with the Creep Shows and I
Tales from the Dark Side.
Exactly.
Yeah. They put in so many fun tones and stories, and it all works together, man. I want the whole world to see this.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
so
there's a good chance. I mean, even though, like you said, people they may attach names at the end of it. I mean, Shudder's a pretty big deal. I mean, there's so many people I know that subscribe to Shudder, and they're all over it, and they're always asking me, "What's good on Shudder? What's good?" And I tell them, the Shudder originals and Shudder exclusives are where to start. If you're not into like a lot of the foreign stuff, like start with that stuff, and then you'll work your way into like a lot of the cool foreign horror that's on there. And I don't know.
Yeah, they're amazing.
It's a great place to be.
It's a great place to be. I kind of glossed over your question earlier with a joke, but the truth is, it really is a wonderful place to be, and I think that. I was a big Shudder fan prior, and of course, like when you make a movie, you dream of Netflix. You're just baked into you. You can't help it, and so you want your movie to be on Netflix. And there was a moment when Shudder was being they were excited about the movie, which we really loved. But I was like, can we give it to Shudder? Like, don't we need to be on Netflix where like anybody can see it across the world? And And as it turned out, like once we sort of started working with Shudder, we realized how great they were. And then sort of, the pandemic happened and suddenly people were staying at home. And suddenly we realized that people needed horror and they needed escapism more than ever. And then Shudder became the go-to place. And all of a sudden I realized, whoa, Shudder just went from being like, I don't know, maybe it's the place to the place as a horror filmmaker you need to get your movie if you want to get it seen. Because Netflix, your movie can come out, it disappears into the stacks.
Yep.
No one sees it. But Shudder is like, one movie a week at most. They promote it. It's right there. And you know that every person who watches Shudder on a regular basis is going to eventually click on that icon to watch your movie.
Yep. And you're getting a physical release and, stuff like that. I mean, who knows if you would necessarily get that with Netflix. But so Justin and Ryan, you guys have worked together for a long time. Is that correct? Like this whole process for this movie, at least, which is like 7 years. So how far back does your working relationship go?
We met in grad school back in the day at Florida State. And I remember distinctively the first time I met Ryan, it was like the first day, like an orientation. I pulled up to the parking lot and I had like an old beat up Nissan Pathfinder with a rack on the top for carrying all this film gear around.
Nice.
And I pulled into the parking lot and there's an old 4Runner with another rack on the top. Like, who the hell is that guy? So turns out that's Ryan. And we became fast friends. We've been doing stuff, some short films back in the day where we had no budget, all the way up to this. Still a little budget, a little bit more. And I think, he's a great guy to work with, clearly. So
nice.
I haven't run away since.
I'm still driving that 4Runner. Which is,
that's right.
Staying on my financial well-being.
You're still driving the same car from grad school? I don't know how old you are. You're probably younger than I am, so it doesn't matter. But yeah.
Kevin's 90.
Yeah. So as far as getting Barak, am I saying your name right? Is it Barak or Barak?
Yeah, Barak.
Okay, Barak. So have you worked with him in the past as well, or is this something where you just know him from being in the same area and the same group of people? Or
we were friends first, and then he asked me to be in the short, and then we've created a few things over the years. So it's definitely like sometimes when you're in a film, you don't know the vibe of it, or you don't know the director, or if you have an idea whether or not to say it. But it was cool having that relationship with Ryan, just to go like, hey, I've got an idea. Can I try something? And he's like very open to it. And then he'll come, he does the same thing. And we're just coming up with something cool on the spot. And just because it was nice to have that friendship.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool too, because not to keep just gushing over our fellow creatives, but I guess we don't get that much chance to do it. But what's really nice about having that prior relationship, and just Barak in general, is that he's a writer as well as an actor. So basically, we would get to a scene, and if we found out there's a problem with the scene, and we had 30 minutes, we could sit together and rewrite or reconstruct something that makes sense, that fixes the problem, which is something that is, just the most amazing gift on an independent film where you're just running and gunning. And, when you haven't slept in 3 weeks and you have a million things happening and suddenly you realize the scene isn't working, the hardest thing to do is to sit down with Final Draft and write a new scene. So having actors that can be like, okay, yeah. Well, maybe I'll say this and I'll say something like this. And we were just like, I remember one morning we rewrote a huge dialogue scene with him and Dr. Kubler the morning of, which was wild. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And some actors just show up and they're like, just tell me what to say. I don't know. Just tell me what to say. And some directors probably like that, but I will always sort of choose an actor who can bring their own piece to the movie, because that's why you hire them, right? You don't hire a cinematographer that's like, just tell me what to do. You hire a cinematographer because they bring the goods. And so
the other side of being a friend of the director is that he can absolutely just abuse you. Like my very last shot was, I'm in the elevator, there's a monster, and it's not in the movie. The scene was cut, but we shot it several times. In the middle of the night, this monster vomiting pea soup on me, like really spraying me with a hose of soup over and over. And then there's like, that's a wrap on Barak. Is there a shower? no, sorry, here's some paper towel. And that's the other side of like working with your friends is that that shit happens and you just go like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we weren't even rolling on that, which is interesting.
What?
So we have one of our regulars in the chat room, Sergio. He wanted to say hi to everyone, and he always asks if you guys are horror fans, what do you think your favorite horror movie would be? What would you say your favorite horror movie would be? Ryan.
Oh man, you're asking me. That's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
I love horror movies, so that's a tough one. I'm gonna say it fluctuates a little bit between a few, but right now I'm gonna say that I've been just obsessed with The Frighteners for a really long time.
Okay.
It's a movie I watch a couple of times a year. It's neck and neck with Brain Dead, which is.
I think it's first off. I think it's awesome that you're a Peter Jackson guy. That's fantastic.
I'm a Peter Jackson guy, hardcore. Brain Dead is the movie for me, but like Frighteners, I don't know. I just love. That's the one I rewatched the most.
Yeah,
nice.
That's definitely a sleeper.
Yeah. I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and I went back to see it again because I was like, what did I just see? Like, I was surprised too because there was a good amount of people in the theater when I saw it. And I remember going to see like Pulp Fiction and there being like 5 people in the theater when I would see that. It just like didn't make any sense. But yeah. Anyways, so Barak, what would you say your favorite horror movie is? I don't know if you're a big horror guy in general,
I'm
but
not a huge horror guy. But then I love a lot of horror films. But what was that? There was a discussion on Twitter today about whether Alien was a horror movie or not.
Totally a horror movie.
Yeah, it is.
And I love that movie.
Yeah,
I'm realizing like, oh, I love way more horror than I thought. But like Alien's got to be up there for sure. I like a sci-fi horror, I guess.
Yeah.
Same.
So there's so many subcategories of horror. That's totally horror in my eyes.
Horror adjacent.
Yes. What about you, Justin?
That's me, horror adjacent.
Suddenly, if it's like an award contender, it's not a horror movie all of a sudden, which is kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, I consider Silence of the Lambs a horror movie, but other people don't.
Yeah.
It totally is. I think Seven's a horror movie as well.
Absolutely.
What do you think the difference is?
Big names. I don't know. It's I really don't know. I mean, I think there's a stigma, and I don't think the awards people want to recognize horror so much, so they're like, oh, it's a suspense drama. You know?
Yeah, I think just the word horror it's changing. I think that Ari Aster has done a lot of the good Lord's work to get horror back into the good graces of the critics and the fan people. But,
Eggers too.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. The two of those guys. Jeez. That's intimidating. Justin, what's your opinion?
Yeah, what about you?
You know, I was going to say The Burbs for a second because I consider it a horror movie, even though it might not be. But I'm going to go with Tales from the Crypt Demon Night.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, can't go wrong. Good times.
Little Billy Zane.
Billy Zane.
Oh, Billy Zane.
And Jada Pinkett Smith too.
Yeah.
When she was, you know.
Anyways, I don't want to get on.
But
Billy Zane train.
Hey.
I was going to say you guys were talking about the friendship and whatever you had before. We've met like different times. Being someone who watches films, you could tell because sometimes films are just like you could tell that it's just people coming together for a paycheck. And when you see even if it is a lower budget or kind of movie, if you see the close-knit, people work together before or whatever, we've mentioned it too. It doesn't matter, if what equipment you use, it's if you know how to use it. There's some films that, might have the greatest of equipment, but you don't know how to use it, and the movie looks like crap. You could look at it and be like, okay, this movie was made for $1 million, and it looks like it's a $100,000 movie, and then you can see other movies that are like $100,000 that look like a multi-million-dollar movie, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But we've mentioned it many a times where it's like, if you have that close-knit, relationship, you could tell the difference between the movies. So now hearing that, it's like, okay, now I see why, the movie is so well put together and whatever, and it flows so well because you're friends, each other, you like each other, and it shows in it for sure.
Yeah. There was a couple of shots where the only crew is me and Justin and one stand-in actor. And so what would happen is I would have my camera on like a slider, and Justin had a handheld fog machine, and Justin would run, no joke, like 50 to 100 yards up a street with a fogger fogging the forest. And I'd be like, action, and the actor would like ride his bike through, and I'd like capture my camera, and I was like, Justin, one more, and Justin's like, okay.
Yeah, Justin was like this superhero on set. That kind of shit was always happening. You'd always just see Justin running, carrying something heavy. Like,
this for a workout, you don't get to the gym when you're making a movie. You just run around, and the rest of the crew thinks you're doing something.
You need a guy like Justin on your sets because Justin is the nicest guy, and he will, for the sake of a movie, for the sake of your project, eat barrels full of shit for you. Like he's being vomited with pea soup metaphorically all day long, and every time you see him, he'll like, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" And then awesome. Brian will make him run around the block for some reason, and he'll come back and just be very happy and the best person I know.
You're right. You guys are all my Bruce Campbells, basically.
Yeah. So for those who may just be tuning in, now we're talking about the Mortuary Collection, which is available streaming now on Shudder, and it's on pre-order right now. You can go to Amazon and pre-order it on Blu-ray. It's coming out on April 20th. I think it's like $17, like $16.99 or something like that. And it's got some a good amount of special features. So the physical media collectors out there, definitely jump on it. I do have the trailer, so I'm just going to play the trailer right now, and here we go.
This poor soul's journey has come to an end. From dust we started, to dust we return. Every corpse tells a story. It is our task to listen.
So these are all stories about how people died.
Some tales even I find too unsettling to recount.
She's dead! You gotta get that body out of your apartment.
Keep your doors locked tonight and keep an eye out for crazies.
Monsters!
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is, isn't it? There's no use running. Your story is just beginning.
Well, there's that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. How cool was it, and how did you get the Sam Raimi quote? That must have been a thrill.
Oh my God! I mean, yes, it's surreal. It's still surreal. I haven't grown accustomed to it yet. I was working on a project with Sam's company. No, I'm trying to remember how this happened. So I knew an executive at Sam's company who I'd sent an early cut to, and he was not supposed to share it, but he sent it to Sam anyway. And Sam loved it. In particular, he loved the sequence with the TV smash, the TV head smash.
Yes.
And he was just really, really jazzed about it. And he ended up putting me up for a series that he was making for Quibi called 50 States of Fright, which I shot 2 episodes of last year. And coming to Roku, I think. I'm not sure what's going to go on with that show. I hope it comes out at some point because it was a really fun show.
Quibi doesn't exist anymore, right?
No, it does. I think they sold their content to they don't tell me anything, but I think they sold their content to Roku, and it's going to come out as a series, which would be really cool because it's pretty awesome for people who haven't seen it. And if you love horror anthology stuff, it's right up your alley. I mean, my segment could be ripped right out of the Mortuary Collection. It's sort of the same world, same type of vibe. But yeah, I worked on that project, and I met him, and he's just like everybody always says again and again. He's just a peach of a man, and just like the coolest guy. And I know he had really liked my movie a lot, and he had sort of said lots of nice things to other people which had been conveyed to me, and I just sort of reached out to him and asked if he would be interested in the quote, and he sent that quote back in like an hour or something or less. It was really surreal. I actually was like nervous about even asking him because he's like such a hero, and I didn't want to do anything to sort of like make it feel like I was like taking advantage of our friendship. But he was just the best as usual, and yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I can't even imagine. I get weird just even thinking about meeting certain people, and let alone actually doing it and them liking what you do. You know, that's huge.
I know the first time I met him probably about a year before I worked on a series with him, and a friend introduced us, and he started asking me about what I did, and I think I said something. I don't know. I was just like nodding, like I totally froze up. I like reverted to my 12-year-old self, looking at an adult. I just couldn't speak, and it was wild because I talk to people all the time. I talk to important people all the time, but certain people are just like your heroes. It's
yeah. They've affected you your whole life. It's something that it's intimidating, even though they're just a regular person, but still.
Yeah.
So yeah, the movie's pretty awesome. You guys have other things in the works, like you said. You had that 50 states thing that's hopefully coming to Roku, and Barak, you have a YouTube channel as well that can you just describe what it is? Like, is it like?
Yeah, I like making all kinds of things, acting and writing and making art and stuff. So I decided like I'm gonna start making things on YouTube and talk about making it and like the creative process. I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like I made this painting that you can move and the story changes, and yeah, I'm all kinds of weird projects.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's very addictive too. Like I'm like subscribed to a lot of just like wood turning channels and stuff like that. I've never done it in my life, but it's just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, so yeah, what's the channel called?
It's at Barak Hardley.
Okay, so just your name. Okay.
Spaces. Yeah, it's like I think it's the same thing that you love about like behind the scenes. Like I think watching a movie is cool, but it's thousands and thousands and thousands of ideas made by 100 different artists, and I think like behind the scenes shows you people who care about what they do, and man, I love it. I'm excited to watch that on the DVD. Do I get a free DVD or do I have to order one, Ryan?
Is
that a Justin question?
After this shit.
We'll see how you do on the podcast.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
It depends. How many subscribers do you have on your YouTube channel?
It's very stuff too, because the guy's talent is so vast. It makes me insane. It's like looking at like not only is he a good actor but a writer, and then he's like building models or miniatures, and then he's like drawing and painting and cutting out stuff. And I'm like, how do you have all these different parts of your creative brain? I can't even, it's ridiculous. So I love the range. Every time you do something new, I'm like, how the heck did this guy, I don't even know how you learn these skills. So
I would suggest people like go check out his page just for a taste. And I would check out his Easter egg video, because Barak's been doing this thing where he's been painting pop icon characters, pop cultural iconic characters on Easter eggs every Easter for like several years, and they're so fucking cool. Like, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Too many Easter eggs. What's the rush? Happy foot, sad foot, butt foot.
Well, now I know when you said your project was so small with a small cast and crew and stuff. It's because you have someone who could do it all at that point in time. So
you have a creative guy there. But yeah, it's in even going back and looking at your IMDb, you've been all over the place as well. You've been in quite a bit, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, have you guys? Thanks. Have you ever seen Mockingbird?
Yes, I have.
With Brian Bertino's second movie. Yeah, I'm in that. I'm like, and then that came out, and no one ever said a word about it on the internet ever again. It's funny the response it got, but yeah, I've been in a few horror movies here and there. It's always fun.
Even besides horror movies, there's a lot of like great like TV that you've been in. Like even if it's just for one episode, it's like I was going through and I'm like, you were in an episode of Shameless. That's an amazing show. So that's huge right there. Like just that alone, I'd be dying. I'd telling my grandkids about that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when someone hits me out of the blue and like I know exactly what show they're binging right then. You know, like, oh, you're watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, or you're. I pop up an episode of The Office, and that was like my dream. My dream. I got paid to be on that set and say words. It was the coolest shit ever.
Barak, did you actually go to Italy for Master of None?
Yeah, they flew me to Tuscany in business class
because
I looked like Eric Weyerheim.
What? For real?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Because you look like Eric Weyerheim? I have I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I have a Tim and Eric poster up there. I've seen them live multiple times. They're strange, but I love them.
Are you going to watch the Tim Heidecker's Oscar special on cinema?
I most likely will. I usually watch stuff after the fact.
I'm such a big fan of the On Cinema world.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If you guys don't know what it is, it's the best. Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington.
Yep. Who's Greg Turkington, who's also
Neil Hamburger.
And Neil Hamburger. Yeah, I saw him open for Faith No More in Brooklyn, and the whole place hated him. It was great. Everyone except for me and my friend Bill like hated him, and we were dying. And he's like spilling drinks, talking about like Smash Mouth and stuff. It was great. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thing that you got a job because you kind of look like Tim Heidecker. I mean, not Tim, Eric Weyerheim. But yeah, that's strange. But that's still pretty cool though. There's you can make a career out of that, right? So it's
yeah.
I don't know if I just.
I don't know if you can make a career out of that, but
no. I mean, like, because you're working consistently on like television shows and stuff like that. So you're making, I'm assuming you're making something doing that.
No,
really? Oh man, that stinks.
This is behind the scenes.
You would be disappointed to hear how Hollywood really works.
Thank you for your time. See you later.
He's like, I'm offended. I'm out. See ya. No, but I apologize for that.
I do want to highlight here the movie Spell looks pretty awesome. I was looking at the trailer.
Oh yeah.
And I cut through a little bit of the movie just to see, like how it looked and stuff. I'm really intrigued checking that out. And then also Pumpkin. It says it's an obsessed member of a Mel Gibson support group. And I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, that was a wild one. Spell I wrote and I'm the lead of. I think it's a little horror-y. Ryan, does it count?
Yeah, no, I would say I love Spell. I genuinely love Spell. If Barak were not my friend, I would talk about it. It's an awesome, weird, beautiful, creepy movie.
It looked.
Why it's not talked about it more than it's. And again, it's the modern state of things. There's so much content out there. It's easy for things to sort of slip through the cracks if they're, they don't get just the right deal at just the right time or just the right people are sort of involved.
Yeah.
And I guess that sort of gives us horror fans more sort of diamonds to find in the rough down the road.
Nice.
Well, and it's good that you guys have like this huge friendship, like group dynamic where it seems like everybody's on the same page to like, get to the finish line at the same time and everybody be successful, even on their own endeavors. You know what I mean?
Well, that's important for a project like this. I mean, it's the only way things like this get made.
Yeah.
And they're harder in some respects. The pay isn't great. The conditions are hard. There's no pay in the day. But it's like Barak can't even get a DVD without doing these podcasts. It's there's an energy on stuff where people are there for the right reasons. They're not there for the money. They're not there because it's easy. They're there because they care about it. They care about Ryan's vision. They care about, films like this from the 80s. They care about, what we're doing and challenging themselves. And so that's the best kind of set to be on.
No, yeah, it's awesome because like I said, like Kevin's saying, it doesn't look like it was shot over such a long time. I mean, it's got the cinematic feel and look, and it has the horror tropes and it hits where it needs to hit. You know what I mean? I felt like everything that was supposed to be in the movie is in the movie to convey what you guys were trying to say. You know what I mean? And I can't wait to see the behind the scenes stuff because I think that's just going to add to the universe.
But then too, you were talking about like how, you know, that's how it should be made, you know, maybe not for the money and stuff like that, but it's one of those things where this movie, I think, will be one of the ones, like I was talking about Creepshow and stuff. That movie's timeless. And you're talking about it 30, 40 years later. There's some movies that, you know, are made for, you know, for the money and stuff that I forget tomorrow, and then, you know, okay, I heard of the movie, but I don't care. But then there's other movies that, you know, we're talking about Brain Dead and all this stuff that, you know, it maybe Brain Dead because of, you know, the craziness of the movie and stuff. But it's one of those things where it's like timeless, and you're going to be talking about it for years and years and years. And I think this one is definitely one that will be.
Oh, thanks, man. I think you're tapping into the thing that Justin and I talk about all the time, which is just like, whenever we go in to take on a project, you know, do we love it? Do we really love it? Not just are we kind of interested, but do we love it all the way? And I think when you talk about Brain Dead, yeah, Brain Dead is over the top and gory, but that movie is made. There's pure heart in that movie in every single frame of it. The gore and the over the top stuff is just icing on the cake. Yeah. And that's the kind of approach that we try to take. I mean, you know, it's hard. Sometimes things get testy and you run out of time and you run out of money and it gets rough. But we did try to infuse everything. And Tony, earlier you mentioned equipment. I mean, we shot. I'm probably not supposed to say this out loud, but Justin and I shot a couple of bits of this movie on my iPhone. And not even a nice iPhone, an old iPhone, because we were out of money and we needed to get a couple of key shots. But we was paying attention to the details and being very precise about how we did it, and just having partners that would be like, Barak, let's go outside today. I need to shoot this one shot of you for this thing, and not having him be a baby about it. That can be the final product. I guess the takeaway is like find your tribe and respect them, and good things can happen.
Yeah.
Well, and I just say too, one of the most surprising new members of the tribe that joined us for the Mortuary Collection that I was just Kevin talking about earlier, like kind of like nerd moments. ADI did all of our creature effects and special effects makeup, and I mean they're legends. You know, like Al Gillis was like on set, like putting goo and such on tentacles, and it was just like every time you're at their warehouse and like walking through the halls of the creatures that they made in the past, and they have like tremors on the walls, and they have, you know, aliens on the walls, and it's the stuff that like you grow up with, and the creatures that they created are kind of still part of your nightmares. I always nerded out going there, and they had no business working on a movie of our size, but they again believed in Ryan and his passion and the project, and like, you guys are going to go have fun doing this, and it's a big challenge, and we want to help you out. And I still don't know why they did it, but I'm forever indebted to them. And it's great that you know, it's great to have some people that are like way out of your league come on board and just like make it something extra special.
Yeah, and like I was saying too, like there isn't a ton of gore throughout the movie, but you know, there's bits and pieces earlier on, but then as it gets later in the movie, it's just like wow, like it's really top notch gore.
Yeah, I think that's like the natural projection of that movie, because I mean you have the first segment, which is like an introduction, and you know, and then you start ramping up to all the way to the end, you know, kicking the nuts, you know.
Yeah.
We thought we did a lot of we talked a lot about that kind of thing, about how we started off with, I started off with the segments, just stories I had that I loved, and I a wrap around, and once we sort of had that laid out, we had lots of really in-depth conversations about how the movies work together and how the movie as a whole evolves as you sort of travel through it. So there was, you know, whether audiences are picking up on it or not, I think that's, you know, up to them. But from our standpoint, there was an evolution in tone and style and morality, and there's a lot of different things that are sort of evolving from story to story that were very specifically chosen to be that way. So the opening was chosen to be a little bit goosebumpsy and a little bit light and a little bit like Disney's Haunted Mansion. And there's this notion of the stories. You know, Montgomery's telling these stories, and he's being pushed by Sam, and he's one-upping himself, and he's pushing a little bit further with the characterization. And he's pushing a little bit further with the gore, and he's pushing a little bit further with the morality of the characters and what's right and wrong, and that kind of stuff is all really important to us. Endless conversations we had that like mean nothing to most people, but the kind of stuff that we really sort of live and die on.
No, I mean, like each segment has, you know, a little bit of like actual like life, like values, morality type stuff, you know. The segment Unprotected, you know, that's huge, you know, has consequences, you know what I mean, and dire consequences to some people, you know what I mean. And then you have segment 3, Till Death, which is a huge like mental thing, you know, if you find yourself in that position, you know what I mean. Like no one asked that question of a person that is in that deal, you know what I mean. So it's like, how would a person deal with that, you know what I mean?
Would you guys have offed your wife if you were in that position? Would you have done the same thing that
I don't. I mean, I'm saying now that I don't think I would.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think I would have. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, you don't know. But that's the thing, because like in that to go back to what you were saying, like there's a scene with the doctor. Was that the scene where he handed him, not to give too much away, where he handed him the puzzle piece or his puzzle piece? Was that the scene that you guys reworked? Yeah, that's awesome.
It was. We had done a thing. We had been like kind of sort of doing like a light rehearsal thing and coming up with fun ideas, and I changed the scene like about a week before we shot it from the original script. And then I was like laying in bed the night before shooting the scene, and I don't know where this comes from. This is like some deep inner like weird struggling artist stuff, but I just sprung up in bed and I was like, that doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. I realized that it didn't connect to some very specific things that need to connect through in the rest of the story. And so I showed up the next morning. Me and Justin both showed up, actually. We got in trouble for showing up too early on set because I was like, I got to sit down. I got to rewrite this scene. And I was like in the trailer just trying to like figure out a way to make this scene work again. And I got like halfway there, and then I was like, Barak, you got to help me. Mike, you got to help me. And the three of us like talked it out for like 15 minutes, and then we did the scene, and it was wonderful. But could have gone a very different direction had I had different collaborators.
Yeah, no, but it carries a lot of weight, but at the same time, it's kind of light in the passing, you know, the item, you know what I mean? Because it was so like flippant, like, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? But it was such a heavy like change that was going to come from that. And you know.
Did you guys notice that the Dr. Kubler was in all 4 of the segments?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
He was
he the doctor the whole in all the segments, or was he different character?
He was the doctor in the STD one, the first doctor.
Yeah.
Right?
And then he was a doctor in the other one. But was he in the end? Was he the doctor one? Was he a doctor coming home?
Yeah, he's in everything. He's even in the segment with the girl in the bathroom. Actually,
where's he in now?
He is the guy at the door, and he's also, if you pay close attention, when she's going through her wallets, she has his wallet with his ID.
Oh, interesting.
All right. I'm gonna have to watch it again because when I finished it, I rewound it because I was like, when did that happen? And I like I said, maybe when we stop recording live, we could talk a little bit behind the scenes type stuff. But I had to like rewind it because I'm like, when did that happen?
Yeah, there's some sort of like not quite correct information floating around that the segments are all supposed to take place in different decades. That's not quite accurate. The general idea of the movie is that sort of like a campfire story, like, you know, when you sit around your kids or adults, I still tell them. So when you tell stories, they're not really set in any one time and place. They're kind of timeless, and that's what gives them their sort of staying power. That's kind of the idea for the movie as a whole. I think there are reasonings. I think because the first one feels so 50s because it's very contained. It's like one girl in one room, and it's one kind of dress, and it gives the impression that that's supposed to be a specific era. But the reality is all the stories are kind of intertwining in a weird, surreal way within Raven's End at the same time. So that's how Dr. Kubler is able to exist in multiple stories. He is supposed to be the same character who's popping up again and again. We actually joked at one point in time, Justin, I don't know if it was your idea, but the joke was that the poster of the movie should be a recreation of the Exorcist poster, but just have Dr. Kubler standing outside of a house with a doctor bag because he's.
If we learned everything, that guy's got a really crappy life because he just stumbles across these horrible situations all the time.
That's the legendary actor Mike Nelson, by the way. And you see it in commercials too. It's crazy every time he pops up. He works quite a bit. And you're like, Dr. Kubler.
And also a good friend. Like also not a random guy, but our friend.
Yeah. That's cool. But so I just out of curiosity, the I'm forgetting the character, the storyteller, the main dude. Yes, it was his look an homage to Angus Scrimm at all? It kind of had a tall man kind of vibe to me.
Yeah,
not the way he acted, but the way he looked more so.
Yeah, I think I think the starting place was iconic horror archetype host. So I remember my comps when I was before Clancy even became involved was the tall man meets the preacher from Poltergeist 2.
Okay,
it's kind of a combination of those two. And then Clancy came and brought a heavy Vincent Price essence to it, which I really loved. But that was like a big part again of the movie is, we wrote the script. I had this archetypal character, and I was like, all right, well, this is fun. This hits all the buttons I love, but like we need to go further. We need to explore. Like let's try to figure out who is this guy when he's not telling his stories. Kind of like I think about the Crypt Keeper, and I'm like, what is the Crypt Keeper doing when we're not listening to a story? Is he lonely? Is he sad? Is he bored? Is he trapped? Like, is he being forced to tell these stories by some higher power? And that kind of thing was sort of what I sort of started talking to Clancy about, and how we sort of brought that character to life in a way that hopefully is what you love about the horror host, but sort of takes it a little bit of a different direction or evolves it in some way that's more interesting.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic, and the only thing I like the whole transition at the end, like the whole little little twist there. But at the same time, too, I'm like I kind of would like to see another one with him, but now I don't know if I can.
I think you might be able to.
Okay, it's supernatural, right? Anything can happen.
So since we're talking about Montgomery, it's Clancy Brown. So how did he become like part of the crew? Basically, how did he come on?
He has been just begging me for years to work with me, but I was like,
he goes up at your house. He's holding the boombox outside.
It's crazy. Yeah. He saw me wearing a Pet Sematary 2 T-shirt one day, and he's just been stalking me ever since. Finally, I'll throw him a bone. I'll put him in the thing. Whatever.
It's like,
you're welcome. Here you go.
You're welcome, Clancy. He didn't have anything else going on. I mean, he's only been in 3,280 million.
That guy's iconic.
He's the best. Amazing. Yeah. One of my favorite actors. Always has been. He the fact
Shawshank.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, Starship Troopers. That's got to be my go-to. Go-to. Yeah.
Sorry. No. I'll say Private Zim from Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah, Private Zim. Yeah, but we got him. We actually got him because Allison, the other producer, I'm trying to think how this happened. I know it happened because Clancy has this really incredible manager named Kelly that just has the most amazing taste, and so he basically when he gets projects, he forces them on Clancy, whether Clancy likes it or not, because Clancy gets a million things a day. He's like animation, movies, TV. He's just assaulted, and his manager really responded to the short we'd made in the script, and he sort of forced Clancy to read it. And Clancy, which was funny, he didn't even watch the short first. He read the script, which I was like, that's a pretty beefy commitment to do right off the top. But he was like, he's very adamant about the page and just loved the script. So I had to do one of those stressful meetings where I had to meet one of my heroes and convince him that I was of sane mind and I could handle him in a film. And we got along swimmingly right away. And he was, I think Justin knows, and Barak too. Barak was around for some of the stuff with Clancy. He was just like the cornerstone of the production. which was weird because he's been on these huge movies, and it's scary to bring somebody like that onto this tiny little project with a tiny crew and an old house and no trailers and no fancy bits. But he was like, he loved it, and he thrived in the situation. It was really cool.
That's great.
Yeah. And you mentioned the old house. That's another thing too. Like everything was like, it was perfect. Like it. I don't know. That house was sick. It reminded me of I'm in Massachusetts, so we have a lot of like really old stuff around here, and it just made me think of old houses that I've spent time in, and even the apartments and the hallways and everything was just, it was like, I don't know, it was like perfect. Nothing looked out of place.
Oh, thanks, man.
I think that helped to make it look much bigger than it sounds like it really was, but it just top notch. So.
Oh, thank you. It's interesting. So I'm from Maine, so I also am very familiar with that New England architecture, and grew up in a house, not that nice, but an old Victorian house with a lot of creepy components to it. And I originally wrote the script to be a New England set script, but we couldn't find any tax incentives that would work for us. We were such a small budget, like it didn't make sense for us. So Oregon was the next best bet, and we ended up in Astoria, which is the town they shot all the exterior stuff from Goonies.
Oh,
and it's basically a town full of houses like that, and so it was kind of perfect for us, and allowed us to have that constant sense of fog, that constant sense of gloom, that like weird kind of surreal nature, because that kind of is how it is all the time. But yeah, that house we shot in, especially the mortuary, was really an epic place. It's kind of surreal because it looks like a nice big Victorian house, but what you can't tell from just seeing pictures of it is it's massive, because the scale, it's like everything is scaled up ×3. So when you look at it from a distance, you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then you walk up to it, and the doorways are like 25 feet tall, and you're like, what? So it's like really insane. I don't know how much that comes across in the movie. It definitely doesn't come across in the exterior shots, but I if I ever go back to that house and shoot there again, I have to figure out a way to capture the real essence of it, because it's something else.
Just like literally, just like you like have a character be like, how big is this door? I don't like I thought people were smaller back then. I don't understand.
It's like 25-foot frame.
I'm 6'3", and I can't even, if I jump, I can't touch it. It's like the sets were great. Like I don't know, it's one of those ones. I do a lot of movie reviews with one of the other guys who's on every once in a while, and we pretty much almost always do Shudder movies because we both have it, and there's so much good stuff on there. And I don't know why we haven't done this one yet. So we are gonna do this one. It's gonna be my suggestion. So, but yeah, I'm assuming he's gonna love it because it's great. So
I hope you specifically reference the size of the doors.
I will. I'm totally gonna. And he's gonna have no idea what I'm talking about.
This movie's got a huge door.
I give this movie 5 gigantic doors.
Not the length, it's the girth of the door.
Yeah.
That door looks like it's 3 feet deep. Doesn't make sense. But I don't know. It's a good time. But anyway, so we're right about the hour. So yeah, go check out the Mortuary Collection, streaming now on Shudder, and go pre-order it on Amazon. By the time the audio comes out, it may already be out. So yeah, go grab it. It's got some special features. So where can people follow you guys on social media? Like where do you interact with your fans? And if anyone has questions about the movie, where can they contact you?
I'm on all the normal ones. Ryan Spindell on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, all the traditional ones. I guess Twitter. I'm becoming more of a Twitter man these days. It seems right. I'm not sure.
You're a Twitterman?
Well,
I gave up on Twitter. I just don't know how to use it. I'm not that smart, so I'm like, I can't spell, so all the words I use are way too long, and I'm trying to figure out the right way to spell something. But anyways, so yeah, go follow him there. And what about you, Barak? Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at Barak Hardley.
Yeah,
and then check those out. And if you ever do watch Spell, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Where is that available now?
It's on Amazon Video. There's another one called Spell they released this year too. It's the one with this guy on the front.
Yeah, with this the guy. For those that are listening, the guy who got paid because he kind of looks like Eric Wareheim.
Yeah, look for the movie with Eric Wareheim.
And you can make a career out of that, I heard.
Yeah, apparently. That's not what I meant. I meant by doing like as many shows and stuff like that. I just assumed. I don't know anything about Hollywood. I just watch the movies and the TV shows, but whatever. Justin, where can people follow you?
You can find me at Justin Ross on all the channels. Not that you want to follow a producer, but I'm around. Some
people are fans of producers. They're just like, I need to follow.
You gotta follow the producers. That's how you get your stuff made.
Yeah, we have
sure. Follow away. Come on.
We have producers that just they come on just to talk about what they're producing. Like they're not even involved in the actual. We've had producers on that have never even been to the set, and they're just talking about they're just excited about the project, So that's cool. Tony, where can people find you?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. You can find me on there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on Twitter, which I hardly ever use. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok. I do reviews on TikTok. And then of course, Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the collection behind me. And of course, here every Tuesday on the Wicked Horror Show. Angel?
You can find me at That Strange Show on Instagram, Twitter, all the social medias. I do that with my buddy Ryan and Mandy. And then sometimes I jump on here, talk shit with you guys.
Laugh at me for saying dumb things. I get it.
Dude, stop talking.
I can't do it. Anyways, you can find me A-Knuckle on Instagram every Tuesday here and doing the reviews of the 13th Wolfman. I'm also part of Black and White Fright and Secret Underground Hideout, all of which on the Dorkening Podcast Network. Go to thedorkening.com for more information on that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on, guys, and congrats on the movie. And have a good one.
Go watch this movie.
Hurry up and buy it. All right.